welcome to day 2 of the Education USA Virtual Week. Education USA is your official source on US higher education information. Today, we'll be hearing from US admissions specialists on liberal arts, STEM programs, and arts programs as part of our week-long webinar series. My name is Sarah, and I'm an Education USA coordinator based in Sydney, Australia. I have the pleasure of kicking off this first session on liberal arts education. If you're tuning in live, we encourage you to post your questions on our Slido page by going to www.sli.do and entering the session code you see at the bottom of the screen. We have a lot to get through today, so I'd like to introduce our presenters. We have Frances Tuluja, Associate Dean of Admissions at Amherst College, and Connor Fritz, Associate Dean of Admissions at Claremont McKenna College. Over to you, Frances.
Thanks very much. We're very happy to be with you tonight from the state of Massachusetts and the state of California. So Connor and I are going to talk with you tonight about liberal arts colleges. What are liberal arts colleges? What the heck are liberal arts colleges anyway? We are going to start with some basic characteristics of liberal arts colleges, characteristics that they share with one another in general. And then a little later in the session, we will each talk about our individual schools, Amherst College and Claremont McKenna College, to give you a little sense of how liberal arts colleges can actually vary despite their commonalities. So a couple of basic things to remember. The word college in the United States is used exclusively to refer to post-secondary institutions. We know that in many places of the world, the word college is meant to refer to secondary schools, but in the US, it's always post-secondary. And the words college and university are often used interchangeably in the United States. But the difference really is that colleges focus their resources on undergraduate education and award primarily 4-year bachelor degrees, whereas universities will also include graduate students among their population and will award master's and doctorate degrees as well. Liberal arts colleges are known for allowing students to study quite broadly across many disciplines. And again, this is in contrast to British-based or European-based universities in which students are required to declare a specific area of study upon entry and then to study that almost exclusively. The very nature of liberal arts is kind of to liberate the brain from those strictures of specialization, allow you to study broadly across many disciplines. You will eventually, after the first 2 years, be required to declare a concentration, what we call a major. But even after declaring a major, when you'll study more deeply in that subject, you will still continue to study in areas outside the major. And some of our students actually in liberal arts colleges will complete 2 majors. Another important factor to remember is that liberal arts colleges are actually liberal arts and sciences colleges. Our curriculum is broad with a wide range of majors: humanities, social sciences, natural sciences, math, and computer science. We just say liberal arts because it's a little shorter and easier to get out. And also, after graduation, many students from liberal arts colleges will go on for advanced degrees in graduate and professional schools. Liberal arts colleges are characterized by smaller student populations that are residential communities. So it's typical for a liberal arts college to have between 1,000 and 3,000 students, and somewhere between 90–95% of their students will live on campus for all 4 years. Small class sizes, very important, typically averaging about 10 to 20 students per class. We do not have a lot of large lecture halls, so you are not going to be in a lecture hall with 200, 250, 350 students. That's not characteristic of a liberal arts college. Classes are primarily discussion-based, not lectures. There's an emphasis on interactive and collaborative classrooms, a lot of interaction between students in the classroom and between students and professor. And those teachers are all going to be PhD professors. Unlike universities, large universities, in which you might, for the first 2 years of study, be taught almost exclusively by graduate students, we don't use graduate students as teachers, so it's PhD professors. And those professors are very easily accessible to you. There's an emphasis on advising, mentoring, and building relationships with your professors that actually will last far beyond your graduation. And finally, there are many undergraduate research opportunities. All of our faculty are not just teaching, but they are also engaged in research in their disciplines, whether it's natural sciences, social sciences, the humanities, and they need students to help them with that work. And at the Liberal Arts College, it's undergraduates who get to do that research. Again, the notion of residential communities, you will be learning and living together. And that means that in addition to academic activities, there's a wide range of co-curricular student activities and organizations. Everything from debate, politics, music, art, theater, student government, sports, community volunteering. With small classes, the residential environment, and multiple after-class activities, it is much less likely that students will be isolated on campus because there's so many opportunities to meet many different kinds of people. You're not living away from the campus and coming in just to go to class and then returning. You have a life that is very comprehensive and supportive on your college campus. And that's a final characteristic of liberal arts colleges. There is a personal, supportive campus network. Students, faculty, administrators, staff are all working together with the goal of supporting students in their educational development, their intellectual, and their personal growth. Connor is going to talk to you now a bit about what comes after graduation from a liberal arts college.
Thanks, Francis. So in my position, I travel around the world, and oftentimes when I'm talking about Claremont McKenna College or the liberal arts colleges, there's, parents and students have lots of questions about, well, will I be able to get a job after going to a liberal arts college? If I want to come back to Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland, and employers, have they heard of your colleges or the universities over here? And I think a lot of times, the way that I answer that is by talking about kind of what comes out of a liberal arts college, what you're actually learning. We're not teaching you how to do one job once you've graduated. We're teaching you how to learn, how to communicate, how to think in a very different way because of the setting of a liberal arts college, because you have access to PhDs, because you have access to your faculty members and to the students, and you have that discussion-based class. Because pretty much every week, you're probably required in at least one of your classes to get up and do a presentation. You're required to write longer papers at a liberal arts college. And so it's developing those skills that are going to be appropriate and needed for many different positions once you've graduated from a liberal arts college. Many times we have large and small companies and organizations that come to our campuses to recruit our students. Our students are very competitive in the job market, and that's because many of the organizations are looking for the skills that are developed in our students. And if you think about kind of the rate of technology and how fast things are moving and how many jobs and employment opportunities are becoming obsolete these days, it is going to be the students who understand and how to think on their feet that are going to be the ones that are highly sought after by these organizations and companies. So when I looked at the skills that employers are looking for in new hires, it's really interesting when you look at the top 10. The top 5: written communication, problem solving, ability to work in a team, initiative, and analytical and quantitative skills. That's exactly what the liberal arts is teaching. And I would find it very hard to believe that a school of 10,000, 30,000, 50,000 here in the United States or in Australia, with lecture halls of 400, 500, up to 1,000 students, are able to actually teach those skills. It isn't until you get to number 10 that employers say they want the technical skills. And that's because they can teach those on the job. And one of my favorite quotes that I've seen is, a 4-year college degree should prepare students for the next 40 years of working life and for a future that none of us can imagine. And again, that is exactly what the liberal arts is trying to teach. Go to the next slide, Francis. So how do we select our students? When we are looking at applications, what are we doing? We're looking actually at a holistic admission process. And so we don't just look at your final results, your HSC results or the ATAR. We're looking at a number of different areas of your life that include both academic and the personal part of your life as well, what you do outside of the classroom. We don't just look at, again, that one number, and it's not a formula. When we read applications, we're kind of trying to understand exactly who the student is as a student in the classroom and who they are as a person outside of the classroom and what they're going to add to our community here. We're gonna look at your, so what are the things that we look at? We look at your common application. So that's where you tell us your name, your background, all the things that you're involved with. You write your essay. We may have some extra questions for our school specifically. We look at your transcript and the grades that you've been given throughout your years of high school. And this is going to differ depending on where you are. Certainly in New Zealand, we're going to see standards-based. In Australia is kind of moving towards that. So we're going to really try and understand the type of school and the education that you're getting and the standards that you're meeting within that. We will look at your national exam results. And the wonderful thing about students coming from Australia and New Zealand is they finish their high school in December. So we actually get to see some of those final results. We do look at SAT or ACT scores. However, for those of you who are applying for next fall or for next August, September enrollment, we are test optional at both Amherst and Claremont McKenna and most colleges and universities now across the country in the US. We read your personal essay, we read the letters of recommendation from your teachers, we look at what you've been involved in and your achievements, and your supplemental material, if you have them, art portfolios, music performances, research that you may have done. And that all adds in so much to what we look at and try and admit students based on how well they are going to perform in our classroom, but how well they're also going to contribute to our communities as well. Go to the next slide. So financial aid at liberal arts colleges. The expense of a higher education in the US is very different from those in Australia, New Zealand, and most parts of the world. We're going to be far more expensive when you look at our tuition and our room and board, the comprehensive fee for coming to college or university in the United States. But there are colleges and universities, you have two right here, that do offer need-based financial aid, and there are some universities and colleges that also offer merit-based financial aid. At Claremont McKenna, we offer both merit-based aid and need-based aid. When you receive financial aid, or if you receive financial aid, those will be in the forms of scholarships or grants, so money that you don't have to pay back. On-campus jobs, so money that you earn while you're at our college or university. And loans, so money that you do have to pay back eventually. When we look at your need or how we determine your financial aid is by looking at how much we cost comprehensively. So our tuition, our room and board, student fees, books, supplies, travel, personal expenses, all get rolled into how much we actually cost overall. And then what we do is we look at how much your family earns, your parents, and how much we believe that they should be able to contribute to your education in the United States. So sometimes that works out well. Families are very happy. Okay, yes, I do believe I can spend that amount of money. But sometimes families are a little bit put off by, I don't think I can afford that as a part of the education. So you really have to balance it. It's not wants, it's what we believe that your family needs in order to attend our institutions. The financial aid process or the application process will vary across the schools, but both Amherst and Claremont McKenna College, for students who are not US citizens or permanent residents, we will need just the CSS profile as a part of to apply for financial aid. If you are a US citizen or permanent resident, we will also need the FAFSA, which is the free or the federal free application for financial aid, student aid, is I think what that stands for. Okay, and we can go on.
Okay, thanks, Connor. So I and Connor are now going to talk briefly about our individual schools. and it'll try to give you a sense of how those basic characteristics of liberal arts schools really manifest themselves in different ways, depending on the individual school. This is a photograph of the broad Amherst College campus. Amherst College has about 1,000 acres of land. Most of our academic and residential buildings are concentrated in one corner of that, but there's a lot of wild area. We've got a bird sanctuary, an animal sanctuary. There's lots of cross-country skiing and running trails. So it's quite a beautiful place, part of the country. We are on the east coast of the United States, the state of Massachusetts. We're in the western part of the state of Massachusetts. And you know where Boston is, you know where New York is visually. Amherst is about 150 kilometers directly west of Boston and 250 kilometers north of New York City. We are adjacent to the town of Amherst, which is a town of about 35,000 year-round residents, but another 35,000 total coming from all of the 5 colleges in the area of Amherst. And it's a kind of quintessential New England college town. It's got restaurants and cafes and bookshops and dry cleaners and drugstores and just about record shops, just about anything that you would need. And Amherst and the town of Amherst have a close and easy relationship. Amherst does not have a big fence or gate around it. We're separated just by that college green that you see in the foreground. I'm going to talk to you quickly about 3 things about Amherst that are distinctive. One is our open curriculum. The second is our 5-college consortium. And the third is the variety of students that you will encounter at Amherst College. So the open curriculum. As you're looking at schools in the United States, you'll notice that some schools schools organize their curricula in different ways. Some schools have what's called a core curriculum, and that's basically a cluster of common courses that all students must take before they graduate. University of Chicago is a core curriculum school. Columbia College and Columbia University is a core curriculum school. A larger number of schools have what are called area or distribution requirements. And that simply means that every student before graduation must, for example, take 2 courses in a foreign language, 2 courses in math, 2 courses in science, 2 courses in social science, etc. A general rule governing the distribution of some of the courses that you will take in that school. Amherst has neither of those. We have an open curriculum, which offers a high degree of independence in allowing you to design your own academic program. We have really only 3 requirements: that you complete 32 courses in your 4 years of study at Amherst, that you complete at least 1 major, and the major will involve anywhere between 8 and 14 courses for the major, depending on what discipline you select. And everyone has to complete a first-year seminar, which is a course in the first semester of the first year, limited to first-year students, capped at 15, very intensive introduction to the reading, writing, and thinking skills that you are going to need in all of the courses that you will take at Amherst. Outside of those 3 requirements, you have pretty much complete freedom to decide what you're going to study and when you're going to study it. So really quite different from what you've typically been familiar with up to this point. We mentioned the importance of science. Amherst, about 2 years ago, opened up a new $250 million interdisciplinary science center with state-of-the-art teaching and research facilities. 35% of our students major in science, and the new science center has been a magnificent addition to the facilities, and I think really highlights the point that I was making, that science is a very important part of a liberal arts curriculum. The 5-college consortium. Amherst is out in western Massachusetts, but we're not alone out there. Within 16 kilometers, there are 4 other schools, 3 other colleges, and a large state university, the University of Massachusetts. We're independent schools, but we cooperate in many ways. Our students at Amherst can take classes at the other schools. Students from the other schools can take classes at Amherst. You can use the libraries at the other schools, etc. And it means you go from a relatively small college campus at Amherst, 1,800 students, to a community of 35,000 students throughout the 5-college consortium. You go from 850 courses offered in the Amherst catalog to over 5,000 courses that are available through the consortium. There's a free bus system that connects all the schools. So the advantages that you have, we think, the benefits of the small, intimate residential community of Amherst College, where you have close contact with your classmates and your professors, but within this very vibrant and lively student community outside. The last thing I want to emphasize about Amherst is the variety of students that we have at Amherst, where Amherst College is considered to be one of the most diverse student bodies in the country, and it's a diversity that covers a lot of dimensions: geographic diversity, racial and ethnic diversity, socioeconomic diversity, and a great deal of diversity of interest and accomplishment. Let me see. Well, I lost part of this. I had some figures up here. About 10% of our student body are international students. Another 8% are dual citizens who have lived and been educated abroad. Our students come from over 58 countries. They speak over 45 different languages. The bottom line of this is that when you come to a place like Amherst, no matter who you are, no matter where you've been raised, no matter what your family is like, when you come to Amherst, you are going to meet some people who are quite like you, and you're going to meet some people who are quite different from you. And we are convinced from our experience that that exposure to different people, different experiences, different perspectives is absolutely critical to your intellectual and your personal development, and also happens to make it a really interesting place, because every day you can meet someone you wouldn't have run into in your regular life. And there we go with the stats. Very quickly, we mentioned we're residential. I wanted to give you just a sense of what we mean by residential. Our dormitories range, and this is typical for liberal arts schools, from this very traditional kind of setting to this very sleek and modern Greenway dormitories, which were opened about 4 years ago. And all of these are hubs of communal life together. This is our first year quad. And this is right in the center of campus, and right around the perimeter of that first year quad is where all the first year students will live in first year dormitories. After that, you go off and you live with sophomores, juniors, and seniors. But in your first year, you're gathered around the quad so that there can be a lot of bonding with your class. I'm going to pass it on now to Connor, and he'll talk to you about Claremont McKenna.
Thanks, Francis. Again, Connor from Claremont McKenna College. Oh, I'm getting some feedback. A little bit about CMC. We are in Southern California, so a little bit different than Western Massachusetts. Right now, it is about 34 degrees here. And typically during the year, it doesn't get below about 20 to 21 degrees. It's a pretty idyllic little place to spend 4 years. In Southern California, you have Los Angeles, and we are right outside of downtown LA. We're about 50 kilometers from downtown LA. So typically taking anywhere from about 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on traffic, maybe 2 hours to get into LA. We also have a train that runs into LA that can get you to the LA International Airport, which is just one flight for most probably people listening and watching this presentation right now to get back home. So I always like to start with the mission of Claremont McKenna, because it's a very interesting part of what we do. CMC's mission is to prepare our students for lives of responsible leadership in business, government, and the professions. So pretty much everything we do on our campus is thinking about how are we preparing our students for what they are going out to do once they've graduated. The business and government part are pretty simple to kind of understand, right? We have very strong programs in economics, finance, and accounting within that. Very well-known programs in government, public policy, international relations. But it's that professions piece that I always find really interesting. And it's that professions piece that I always say is our promise. It's our promise to prepare our students for whatever it is that's next. So we concentrate on developing skills that are going to be necessary for our graduates, and in what type of environment, what type of technological advancements, what type of industries that are coming up. We're preparing our students for that, and so we send now a lot of students, yes, into banking, yes, into public policy, but a lot of students now go to Silicon Valley. They're working in the tech industry. And that's because we're here to prepare our students for that, for what's next. We have 1,347 undergraduate students. We are a very small institution. But the wonderful thing is we are also part of a consortium. A little bit different than the consortium that Amherst is a part of is that our consortium is literally all of our schools are right next door to one another. So we were actually modeled after the Oxford and Cambridge style of consortium universities. So we want our students going out and taking classes across the other campuses. We want our students even majoring on other campuses. We share clubs and organizations, parties. There's a lot of flowing from one campus to the other because literally you walk across one street and you're on a completely different campus. The 5 colleges you have here in Claremont are Pomona College, Scripps College, Pitzer College, Harvey Mudd College, and then of course Claremont McKenna, and we're all within 1 square mile of each other. A motto here at CMC is learning for the sake of doing. And so a part of that is research. So we actually have 11 research institutes and centers on our campus. These 11 institutes are all privately funded, revenue generating, all have their own staff, and all provide opportunities for our students beginning their first year to be paid research assistant interns. So places like the McGrublian Center for Human Rights, the Keck Center for International and Strategic Relations, the Kravis Leadership Institute, and we even have the Kravis Lab for Social Innovation as well. If you go to the next slide, please, Francis. So one thing I do like to highlight are outcomes because that is what we're about here at CMC. We have this liberal arts approach to our education. So students are getting great education across all different disciplines and areas. But we are really here to prepare our students for going out into the world and doing things with that. So one way in which we do that is through our internship program. So we don't give internships to students, but we help our students find them. And over 95% of our students have at least one internship. But I think the one number, I think if you were to put us up against any other college or university pretty much in the world, I would say that this number will stand out is that over 85% of our students do internships every single summer. And so that is something that we really do, we really are proud of. You can see our statistic there of students after graduation, but you'll also see our top 5 employers. And this goes back to what I was saying. We, liberal arts college students are highly sought after by some of the largest organizations around the world, the most influential. So Accenture, JP Morgan, Microsoft, Goldman Sachs, Deloitte, all in our top 5 of employers for CMC. The next slide, please. So just to look at the numbers here. So 6,000 students last year applied to CMC. We admitted 625 of them, but we have a sizable international population. So 16.3% of our population in our incoming class is international students. And that's students coming from all over the world to this small little liberal arts college in Claremont. And I think that's because it really does speak to the international population of what we do. We provide opportunities for our students to go out, to develop their resume, and to be highly sought after once they've graduated. If you go to the next slide, please, Francis. So applying to Claremont McKenna, we accept the common application and the coalition application. We're an early decision school. We do take a good portion of our students at early decision, and that's because we want to make sure that we are creating a class that is representative of what we want. So that's stirring up and making sure we have international students from all over the world. So early decision, if CMC is a good option for you, I would definitely think about early decision, which is a binding agreement for students when they apply. And that is it for CMC.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Connor and Francis. It's been really informative, even for me. We are getting close to the end, but I think we have time for one question. So we had a few come in on subject area, so I'll combine them. Students would like to know if they're interested in STEM subjects or subjects like fine arts, film, can they still attend a liberal arts college?
Absolutely. Yes. So I know both Amherst and CMC both have very strong science programs, so STEM programs. while you might not be able to find engineering at a lot of liberal arts colleges, there are some amazing liberal arts colleges out there that have engineering, Harvey Mudd College being one of them. But we both also offer the opportunity for our students to also do engineering as a part of their program with us by doing an extra 2 years at an engineering school. Francis?
Yeah, it's absolutely possible not only to do a STEM subject or an arts subject, but it's possible to do both. So because of the freedom of the liberal arts education and the fact that there are not a lot of restrictions on what you study, it's possible for a student to major in a STEM area and also double major in the arts. So at Amherst, we have students who major in physics, but they also complete a philosophy major, let's say. They complete a mathematics major, but they also complete a music major. So we're looking for students who have a lot of intellectual interests and are excited by ideas, and we give them the freedom in the liberal arts to pursue those ideas and not to falsely have to exclude the love of one subject in order to pursue another.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And since you were so quick, I might sneak in another question. A student asked, because you were speaking about financial aid, and we will have a session on financial aid tomorrow, so a brief answer is fine. When assessing a student's need, are you looking at US dollars or are you doing a conversion for local currency?
That's a great question. We're doing a conversion. So we'll look at the local currency, and we'll actually ask, most of the time, we ask what the rate is, and it converts over in our system to American dollars. It's interesting how that works sometimes, specifically with the fluctuation in currencies. 1 year it might be really affordable for a student to come to the US, and the next year it might be really unaffordable for the student to come to the US because of that fluctuation. So we really do take into account, and your financial aid is changes from year to year. You reapply for financial aid. So if there is a situation where the currency has gone out of whack with the dollar, we reevaluate every year what that is.
And it's even more than just a simple currency conversion. So our financial aid offices are looking more deeply and using sources of information that tell them about the cost of living in various countries. So not just the currency conversion, but how much does property cost, et cetera? What is the typical annual income? What are the educational expenses that exist there? So just as our admission of students is very multidimensional and trying to get a full contextual understanding of everything that's going on the applicant side, our financial aid offices are also trying to get a full multidimensional picture of what the family's resources and expenses are within the context of their country.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, I might wrap it up there. So I wanted to thank everyone for listening into our session on Liberal Arts Explained as part of the Education USA Virtual Week. These recordings will be available on Facebook after the session. We know a few other questions have come in, and we will have a live Q&A at the end of the week on Friday, so please check it out. I want to thank our US admissions specialists for sharing their expertise with us today. If you would like to find more information about these institutions, please follow our hashtag EduSA Virtual Week. Up next, we'll have a program on STEM, so please tune in. For other programming, check out our link bit.ly/EdUSA Virtual Week Live, or the Facebook event page. If you have any further questions, please get in touch with your local Education USA Centre. Thank you.